Welcome to the podcast of MotorWeek, television's original automotive magazine. MotorWeek is made possible by TireRack.com and by RockAuto.com. Here's your MotorWeek podcast host, John Davis.
I always wanted to sound like Alec Webb. You know, Alec Webb, that's our announcer, the great voice of MotorWeek and a lot of other programs. And thank you, Alec, very much. Welcome, everyone, to our MotorWeek podcast number 136. Oh, that seems like only yesterday that we did 135. No, that's all right. Around our table today in MotorWeek Central, writer-producer Brian Robinson.
Hello, John.
Our road test producer Ben Davis. No relation. You going to say hello?
That was just a visual.
Knows your voice.
Right. For the people not everybody is watching this, but you can watch it. Go to our YouTube channel.
There you go. Our assistant producer, Greg Carlos.
Hey.
And our writer, Patrick Lucas.
Hello, everybody.
We will have a lightning round, a viewer question, even a little time for Rant and Raves. But first, MotorWeek has just announced its 34th annual Driver's Choice Awards. We gave out the awards and made the announcement at the Chicago Auto Show. And what we thought we'd do on today's program, if you'd like a complete list, go to our website, motorweek.org, and click on the one of the tabs at the top. Will bring you to it. But if you don't want to wait for that, we're going to run down the list pretty quickly and let everybody around the table give a couple of comments about each one, why you think it got that selection, what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it. You know, we're democratic here.
We're allowed to talk about what we didn't like about it?
Absolutely. Right. Not every car is perfect, but you know, we have basically picked these vehicles as our collective choice of the best. So let's try and be positive. But in public disclosure, we want to make sure everybody gets the full story. Number one, best small car. As Brian Robinson put in the script for our awards, there wasn't a whole lot new in the small car business last year. Car sales are obviously not doing as well as SUVs, but we did pick a very good choice for best small car. I think the Honda Civic. All right. Why?
It was the best of what's around for sure. It was clearly better than the last gen. Still not that much to get excited about yet, although there is some more stuff coming, some more high performance and 5-door hatch. So I think it was a good pick.
5-door hatch, a little bit of turbocharging finally.
Yeah, here we're even getting an R model, so there's definitely a Civic for everybody's performance needs. I'm a little more enthusiastic about the car. I think it's exactly what Honda needed to do. Two-tiered dash is gone. It's much more user-friendly inside. Materials and overall design everywhere is way up. It's priced right. It
drives well.
It drives super well. Everything you're looking for in a car in that class is there. It's definitely forged to be a class leader. No doubt.
I should point out real quickly that the previous car sold very well, but it was just the press primarily didn't like it. But this car will probably sell very well and seems to have cured all of its ills as far as we're concerned.
Yeah, 100%. I'm looking forward to the R model.
Yeah, I was going to say it's the Driver's Choice Awards, and it was certainly fun to drive. I think we both had a chance to drive it at our test track.
It's funner than it deserved to be.
Funner than it deserves to be. Patrick, anything?
I like the amount of variety you get. I've never had a bad time driving a Civic. If you get past the looks. So, yeah, I agree.
Best family sedan, a bit of a surprise given that it usually goes to an import brand. The Chevrolet Malibu. Why this year did we give it to the long-suffering Malibu?
I think Benny drove it the most, but it wasn't hard to come to his way of thinking. I mean, it's a very well-deserved recipient. I think it's a very solid car.
It's yes. In this category, it's truly the most driver-oriented car. With the transmission is super smart. It's not a CVT. It's programmed perfectly. The engine's got a lot of pull, and there's a lot of road feel. In this class, you just
usually don't.
It's been numbed out of everything, and this one has it.
Yeah, the interior also seemed to be the best everyman's brand Chevrolet interior that they've done yet. I thought it's a big step up
when you compare it to some of the Japanese offerings too. It's much more user friendly. Not as just sophisticated.
Not as weird.
Overly.
Yeah, I would say just the ride. For me, the ride and handling is, GM's putting a lot of effort into that, and it clearly shows in that car. My only worry is, every time a Malibu comes out, it was like, this is finally the one that's going to take it to the imports. But then, then the next year, a new
It's in
Camry and
the
Accord
rental
come
car
out,
fleets.
and then they raise the stakes again. So I think they've done enough to keep it competitive for a while, but we'll see. There is a new Camry and Accord coming out within the next year or two.
Well,
so.
you can't sit on a design for even 5 years anymore. There was I just read an article over the weekend about how manufacturers are now looking at, instead of 7-year cycles, 5-year cycles with a major rehash in the middle of that, not just new grill work.
Hopefully they follow that.
Malibu, very good choice. Best convertible, Mazda MX-5. Okay,
No brainer.
it really kind of was.
We had some debate on that.
We did have a
TT
little.
was up for it.
We had, that was
actually
we had a lot of debate
Yeah,
on.
I think we did talk for a while.
I voted for TT too, but
It's hard to argue though with bang for the buck.
I would have changed my mind. After driving it in Roebling, I would have changed my vote to Miata. For some reason, I thought it was really cramped inside, and it just wasn't this time around.
But having that car on the racetrack, that's the first time we've had it on a road course in a long time. So what was it like to drive on a road course?
It's a little light for road course use in off the showroom floor trim. I mean,
And specifically that road course because it's high speed.
That car's got a tremendous amount of aftermarket parts, though. I mean, if you really wanted to drive it in that manner, it wouldn't be hard to make it awesome.
It did much better there than I was expecting. It didn't feel underpowered at all, considering the long straights they got there.
Not underpowered, but the platform, the suspension felt a little soft for
sure.
what it was trying to do.
Well, yeah, it is a pretty soft little machine, but
driving it to lunch, I mean,
great.
it's a perfect street car.
The
Absolutely
shifter
great
is
road
awesome.
car.
Shifter clutch setup is just one of the best.
The design too was of everything. Interior, exterior was a good step away from the previous 3 generations. So it made it feel really new, and then it was also just really awesome to drive.
let me ask you, and you and Greg both, since you're the 2 youngest people sitting at the table,
Yep, you're out.
do you feel that the car is now modern enough to attract your generations?
I think it's hard to say. I think once they slap the Miata nomenclature on it, people tend to get away from it because they think, oh, Miata, that's a female car, or it's not a cool car. But if you could pull a Chevy and do a commercial where you pull all the badges off of it and look at the car, I mean, it's certainly something to look at.
The sheet metal is what I liked. I mean, it's very slick looking, very modern looking. The interior is, fairly basic, kind of cheap-ish looking. But, I don't see why people would be turned off from it. It looks very new and modern.
It'll be interesting to see when they slap the Fiat 124 badge on their version, whether or not it makes a difference or not in the perception. Okay, a car that did actually invoke quite a bit of discussion during our voting, best luxury sedan, Jaguar XF, their midsizer.
I mean, that was a huge jump forward, I think, for Jag. I mean, the previous XF, I remember thinking, like, it's not quite up to what I think a Jag should be. This one is just refined in every way, drives great, looks I'm going to stop short of saying great. It looks very nice. They didn't really do a whole lot with the exterior changes.
It almost some people may not see it at first glance as an all-new vehicle.
But as it is the Driver's Choice Award, I think it's,
certainly looks like a member of the family. Nissan Maxima,
That's
lots
quick.
of discussion on that. We could probably do a whole show on it. Best sports sedan. Not only is it front-wheel drive, not only does it have a CVT. I mean, both things traditionally would have disqualified it from even discussing it. But we went ahead and took the plunge.
Yeah, we'll definitely get some emails about that one.
Sure.
It's an impressive car.
It is.
Yeah, let's defend it.
I mean, it is a head-turner. It drove well. It felt spirited.
It doesn't even sound, inside at least, it kind of sounds nice.
It does. I mean, and it's a big car. This is not some small, compact sports sedan. I was blown away by it. I think some of the work that Nissan's doing is pretty amazing.
I think it's a good indication of where things are going. I mean, the people that want an ultra stripped out, loud, obnoxious sports sedan are few and far between anymore. Everyone wants their comforts, they want their convenience features, and they want something that they can have fun in and drive every day to work. So it's something more along the lines of this car.
I feel like we're losing the definition of a sports sedan, though. 'Cause
Right.
it was going up against a lot of like what I would call performance sedans now. Because it was going up against cars that had like almost even 500 horsepower.
Exactly.
Yeah, it is all getting blurred.
It's sporty. It's not performance. I highly recommend Nissan if you're listening. Maybe a Nismo all-wheel drive model, something for the performance fans, because the car is awesome and it deserves to have more power. More
We
traction.
really have been here before, both with Audi, when basically all they were marketing was front-wheel drive products, and also Acura. The original sedans they did were so highly regarded. So we can't really say that we've never walked down the front-wheel drive sports sedan road before, but I don't think anybody expected this car. Maybe that was it. We just didn't expect this car to do this well.
Yeah, I think we even really liked was it Fiesta RS? Fiesta
ST,
ST,
2 years
yeah.
ago or
Yeah.
last year.
That was a
Yeah,
front wheel drive
it
car.
was.
We gave that the best.
So
sports
there
cars.
you are.
We did.
It doesn't have to be rear drive necessarily to get your blood going.
Best compact. It wasn't a sports sedan.
I thought we gave it a best sport something.
We might have
I
been
could be
talking
off.
about it, though.
It was an awesome car.
Speaking of sport, best sport coupe, Chevrolet Camaro.
Yeah, hard to say. I think anything else in this category. I mean, I personally was pretty impressed with how it did because we had it at the track. We had the SS, finally got to drive that for the first time. But just even and we haven't driven a turbo, but even the V6 is a really, really nice car.
How much improved? The previous car fairly widely maligned by a lot of people especially for things like the interior.
Well, they did a great job of creating a whole new vehicle and making it look like the exact same vehicle that it replaced. I mean, it's on an all new chassis. It's smaller, but it looks exactly the same. But you mentioned the interior. That's probably the big thing for me. I wouldn't say hate because that's a strong word, but the previous gen's interior was just not an enjoyable place to be. This one, don't actually mind being in.
Yeah, I would call it. I wouldn't even want to call it a full gen evolution. I like a 0.5. Maybe.
But it is. It's totally
It's
different
sure
chassis
is.
and
Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
I'm totally over the look outside. I think it looks dated and kind of chunky and old, but yeah, I really like the interior. The SS that we had sounded awesome, felt awesome. So yeah, I easily agree with this.
Let's flip over to the other side of town. Best performance car, staying with American muscle, Ford Shelby GT350R Mustang, which we also just had at Roebling.
I think last time I talked about this car, all I could say was awesome. And after having just driven it at Roebling, that's all I was telling myself when I was flying around the track. This car is just awesome.
I think it sounds insane. It handles way better than what you're expecting. The interior is cool. It's
Revs
just-
forever.
Yeah. It's a great
It was the
piece.
most comfortable I felt around Roebling in an American car because I don't push Corvettes crazy hard because I'm a little scared about them, but I was pushing this thing hard.
One of the gentlemen that was with us from another manufacturer and who was a very good driver actually came over and said about the Shelby, he said, "This is an honest car." And I thought that was high praise from basically a rival brand. He really felt like it delivers exactly what you think it should deliver.
And hitting on what Greg just said, I think revs to 8,200 and doing quarter-mile runs, you get that like sound at like 6,000 where you normally shift the Mustang, but the thing is just still pouring on strong. You got another $2,000 to go yet. It just sounds amazing.
And what a bargain. What a bargain this car
Oh my
is.
god! I heard you can't get one for anywhere near the sticker
Well, I'm
price.
sure
though.
that's true.
Where they're adding
Sure,
like,
dealer markups
I
insane.
heard it's like triple digits
think-
now.
but
Like
now I
100
think they're-
90 grand, 100 grand for one.
They originally took out the rear seat in the 350R, but I hear they're now putting one in as an option on the 350R.
I think it's always been an option. You could always
Has it?
add it back
Yeah,
in
I
as
think
an
so.
option.
I
Yeah,
think so. Yeah, you get that stuff back. Ours had one, right? RR.
No,
I don't think so.
No.
I never even looked back.
Most of them are getting put in the garage somewhere too, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah, no
it is.
doubt.
Now let's talk about what people are buying, and that's utility vehicles, our best small utility. Most of the new ones we saw this year were subcompact, so that kind of made the Hyundai Tucson, which is a compact, really stand out. I did not like the first generation Tucson. I thought it was kind of strange looking. I thought it rode terribly. This is a terrific vehicle. I'm very impressed.
I think, yeah, what you said at the beginning really made it because that's all it seemed like we were driving this year was subcompacts, and they're barely crossovers. I mean, there's no room in any of them, and for the same price, you can get one that looks almost mid-size. It's got the same style as the Santa Fe, and it's just enough. There's enough room in there to actually do SUV type things.
Any other comments?
I think, I mean, keep it quick. It was solid pick. The only problem I had was just that one transmission. It was that DCT transmission. I think kind of lacked, but I didn't drive any other transmission, but I can't imagine it's worse than the DC.
That was a fuel economy transmission. It's not supposed to be
but I mean, even still, it just didn't work properly. It really kind of tripped over itself a lot and felt clunky.
Yeah, but DCTs seem to be losing favor.
There's a difference between a well-executed performance DCT and one that's made
for fuel economy,
right? And to be annoying.
Moving on, bigger SUV, best large utility, Honda Pilot. No big surprise there. Every time they crank out a new Pilot, it seems to do well, both in the awards and also on the sales floor. But this is a very sophisticated, albeit I will say it, luxury vehicle in a lot of ways. Pretty impressive.
It's the closest you can get to being a minivan and still be a crossover
because it's got all-wheel
but
drive.
You've driven it a lot. Why don't you take this one?
I have driven it probably more than anybody else, including quite a bit in bad weather. I like the fact that it's got selectable drive modes. I got out of my snow-covered parking lot quite easily, putting it in the snow mode. It never hesitated, and this is with the street touring tires on. I wouldn't want to take it through an unplowed 3 feet of snow, but it did pretty darn well, all things considered. The seats are a little hard for long travel, but the materials on the inside and the look of everything, I think, is actually a step up from anything that Honda has done for the Honda brand before. I mean, frankly, when you get in the new Pilot and you go over and get in the current generation MDX, I think you're going to want to come back and stay with the Pilot even before you start talking about different features. We have the second row captain's chairs. I personally would prefer the bench seats, but they fold and move extremely easily. Lots of storage space, very quiet. And on the trip down to Roebling and back, doing it in typical highway speeds, it was returning 26.5 to 27 miles per gallon, and that's 3 to 4 miles per gallon better than the typical three-row crossover that we've done that trip with. So pretty impressed. All those safety features you can imagine, they all seem to work pretty well. The power liftgate works very well. I think it's they've knocked it out of the park. Except for a little bit of seat comfort, I didn't have any problems with it. What's next? Best luxury utility. Okay. Speaking of luxury, as we said in our script, 6 months ago we didn't see this one coming. The Volvo XC90. Admittedly, it has won just about every car award it can win right now. Why does everybody love it?
I was kind of disappointed with that. I thought we were, going to be alone.
Me too.
Yeah, we were going out on a limb declaring it our best luxury utility, but everyone seems to be piling on.
North American truck of the year. Mm-hmm. What is it about the car that knocks you out? And having said that, at the end, Brian, why don't you talk about the one that we got at Roebling just for stand-ups?
I think the big reason is just the amount of luxury and amenities in just the base $50,000 model,
which we had one,
right? It's hugely impressive compared to other luxury SUVs, which are more in the 70 to 80 range. Drives nice, interior is top notch.
Seats are comfort. They spent some money to do the chassis, so you could really use up all the interior room with the transverse leaf springs in the rear, and
it's got the super easy to use huge touchpad in the on the dash. So
very advanced powertrain.
Which I still, I'm a little leery on that one. You combine turbo and supercharged and made in China. And I don't know. I'm sure it's fine, but I'd be a little cautious. Maybe lease instead of buy.
I'm sure most people would.
I can't remember one vehicle, though, turning around a brand that pretty much everybody had written off so quickly. I mean, I shouldn't say that it's turned them around, but let's say it certainly brought a lot of people back to looking at them again. They had pretty much discarded them.
We should get one long term. Because I love the fit and finish and the feel of everything, the look of everything. It feels like a very well put together package. I'd be curious to see how that lasts over time.
Best pickup truck, Nissan Titan XD. They're diesel.
Optional diesel, yeah. XD is an optional diesel.
Mm-hmm. But tell us about it.
All new Titan. It's kind of a tweener, not quite light duty, not quite heavy duty.
What do you mean by that?
Well, they just added more capacity under their full size. It tows 12,300 pounds, which is right about where most light duties end and heavy duties pick up.
First use of the Cummins Turbo V8 in a light duty, or I should say populous vehicle. Do you feel that it still had the character of a Titan, or is it different? Have they tried to change what their truck is supposed to be?
You guys drove it a lot more than me. I would say it still felt, personal use more than heavy duty.
Yeah, I would even say the model that we had was a touch more luxurious than a lot of similar trim packages in American trucks. So it's, I think it stepped up the game to the more gentlemanlier worker. Maybe somebody that's going to tow a horse trailer or a big
Small
boat.
horse trailer.
Yeah, like a hobby horse trailer, like a show horse trailer, or a race boat, or a race team trailer, something like that.
They've gone in and they found a niche that nobody was in. I mean, that's pretty smart. And they basically brought out something really fairly unique. And even though the diesel's optional, I bet they sell every one they can make.
Oh, yeah, no doubt there.
I'm sure, people will be wanting to buy a diesel more than the gas.
And our last normal category, best eco-friendly, Chevrolet Volt. Better styling, better interior, more range. I'm still a huge Volt fan. The idea of having a backup internal combustion engine as a range extender just appeals to me over a pure electric. But what did you think of it?
I think, it came down to this in the Prius, if I recall. And I spent a lot of time in both of them. And it was pretty easy to me. I just enjoyed my time in the Volt more.
It actually drove pretty well?
It drives better. Yeah, I think it drives actually exceptionally well for what it is. It looks better than the Prius. I think I enjoy the interior space more than I do in the Prius. I don't want to bash the Prius. It's a very good car, but I just like the Volt better.
I'm sure you can turn this off. There's an aspect of it that just annoys me to death. Whenever you turn it off or turn it on doesn't bother me, but when I've got my kid in the back and he's asleep, he's a 3-year-old, pull up in my driveway, put it in park, turn the thing off, it goes, the kid's asleep. I'm trying to transition him into the house without waking him up, and it does it every time.
Your 3-year-old son's probably one of the few people that can actually fit in the back, because it doesn't really have much.
The third seat belt's kind of a joke.
It was difficult getting the car seat in there. I had to put it down, lay it down on the seat and set it up right. Yeah, but even he had a little tight head in the back in the car seat. But yeah,
I'd say they get the award just for kind of delivering what the original Volt promised. I think they've finally gotten around to actually delivering it with this one. So.
It's tight inside though a little bit.
Best dream machine. I'm going to run through these pretty quickly. The Lamborghini Aventador LP754 SV. Is anything more than you have to say than the fact it's a Lamborghini?
Yeah,
That's a mouthful.
Yeah, I I didn't get to personally drive it, but I saw a lot of video of it from when Dave drove it. But the thing hauls.
Pretty amazing car. The Mercedes-AMG GTS. I really like that car.
Yeah,
I was very critical of thinking, they're dumbing down their upper level, the sports car, but gee, what a nice, tidy piece of work.
It's basically for the guy that wants a 911, but a 911's not as Mercedes-Benz as he would like it to be. So.
Although the back end sure looks like a 911.
Looks like a 928 might look like if it was still
exactly
going
right.
on.
Yeah, that's exactly my feeling. Land Rover Range Rover Sport SVR. How much performance can you stuff into an SUV?
Yeah, sounds great. They're all Range Rovers are always comfortable, I think. You can kind of combine everything we car enthusiasts like. I can't even speak anymore.
Speechless.
It's that good that I can't even speak about it.
So dreamy.
Big buck SUVs, man, that's where it's at. I think we haven't even seen the limit of where these
No,
things should be going
I
in the
think
coming
you're right.
years, for sure.
Thank you all for all your comments. That
was exhausting.
an exhausting rundown of our Driver's Choice Awards. The complete list is on motorweek.org, and all the videos are up on YouTube. Move on now. It's time for our lightning round. Our panelists have 2 minutes to debate a trending
Let's make it
automotive
1
topic.
minute. How about that?
Patrick got in charge of the bell.
It always ends up being like 3 minutes. So.
The one vehicle that we didn't talk about, the one award, is, of course, our Best of the Year.
Oh, man.
Now, we've never given Best of the Year to an SUV before. We gave it to the Volvo XC90. Yeah, the Tucson. Is this a trend? Are we now in a position where cars basically are going to stay out of favor, and this may just be where we're headed with the Best of the Year type awards? What's going on with the American psyche?
I'd say it's definitely a
That's a deep
crossover
question.
world for now. I mean, I don't know how long it'll stay that way, but yeah, I mean, almost everybody. Once people get in the crossovers, they like the higher riding position. They don't want to go back to sitting low to the ground in cars.
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. I feel if Civic would have hit us with their full range all at once, like Golf did last year, then it would have been Civic. So it's still 50-50 for the buying population, I think.
But isn't it fascinating how the American public really didn't want anything to do with 5-door hatchbacks, even though they used to love station wagons? And here basically we're giving them 5-door hatchbacks that happen to have all-wheel drive, and they just can't get enough of them.
It's all about the marketing.
It's pretty amazing.
Makes them feel less lazy.
The autonomous driving aspects of this car, while it's not obviously not there yet, are you surprised that we're seeing this much autonomous driving features in a car this quickly? And is that also, I mean, everybody's all crazy about autonomous cars. I still don't think we're going to see the pure self-driving cars for a while yet. But what's your impression from what you're experiencing so far? Is it going to be worth the hype?
I mean, all the technology is there now. It's really just lawyers that are keeping us from driving them now. But that XC90 is basically an autonomous driving car now. It'll go by itself pretty much.
And the S90 that's coming, the sedan, even has a few more features.
There's a lot of interesting, when you're talking about autonomous cars for a long time, like I always wondered, if you get a flat, is this thing going to pull itself over into the median? I mean, when autonomous cars come, is it going to understand what a median is? Or not a median, but a
Like a safe pull-off zone.
yeah. Is it going to recognize that and pull itself over, or are you going to have to be alert enough or physically able enough to do that yourself? Just something.
What if you forget how to do it? I mean, theoretically, a lot of people will be in these cars that don't know how to drive.
Sure,
They don't have a driver's license.
And I want them to all be included because it would be revolutionize their mobility. But there's certain aspects like that I wonder about.
There's all kind of projections going on saying, nobody's going to be able to sell a run-of-the-mill automobile because they're all going to go into autonomous fleets, and that's why everybody's heading towards marketing luxury brands, and we're not going to sell any cars. And, all of this may have a lot of validity for people that live in a closely packed city, but when you're out in the great unwashed farmland of this country, or the rural areas, which the country still is mostly comprised of, I just don't see the acceptance here that quick. But I don't know. All right. Well, it looks like we're not going to use up. Hit the buzzer so we can
Kind of forget what the question was.
Yeah. Well, it was.
We didn't even get into. We were talking about our car of the year.
I was done with it, so
Yeah.
that's good.
Just
Good
wrap
job
it.
of ringing the bell.
We have a question from Larry, and Larry, I'm going to kind of encapsulate your question. Larry's concerned about the crashworthiness of the current bumpers on cars. He's under the impression that, yes, bumpers used to have to pass a 5-mile-an-hour impact without serious damage, and that's gone away. That's not really true. The standards are still there. But what has changed about bumpers today, and what actually makes them easier to damage than they used to be. I mean, if you go back to when I started driving, the bumpers were big and they were chrome, and if you hit something lightly, chances are whatever you hit got damaged, but the bumper never did, and the car you were in did pretty well until the speeds picked up. Then it was a different story. But what do bumpers do today versus, say, what they did 30 years ago? Do they were really designed to protect against minor accidents? Are they there? Is there a bigger role for them to play?
Are you setting us up? Do you know the answer and just want us to be wrong? Or?
Well, no, I'm curious in what you think. I mean,
I think
I can tell you what I think.
They should change the terminology. It's no longer a bumper anymore. Technically, it's not designed to bump off
undercarriage shielding or something.
Front fascia is what we always call it.
Yeah, it's a crash. It's an
covers
energy absorbing.
It's supposed to break now because then it's supposed to absorb any kind of impact. Say if you hit a pedestrian or another car, it's all made to crumble so that you don't kill anybody.
Right.
It's not about
just
your
not
bottom line.
Made to look pretty after it does it. It's part of the design now, and you're never going to get to a point again where you're going to have a big steel bumper hanging off of something.
Maybe they have a point. You shouldn't encourage people to be able to hit things and say, oh, well, I have a 5 mile per hour bumper. I can just hit whatever I want up until a certain speed.
Yeah.
I mean, there should be a level of shame when you hit something. Some people treat and Larry says he lives in Chicago, and I've lived in the city. Patrick still lives in the city. Parallel park a lot. I mean, cars just get dinged up a lot. And I really I hate subscribing to that because you just shouldn't hit things with your car. Some people just assume that you scratch the car or hit other people's cars, it's okay.
If you strip off the bumper on an average car, what you're going to find is that on the ends, there's nothing there anymore. All the crashworthiness beams and all are in the middle because that's where you need to pass the crash test. And this is just a cosmetic piece of plastic that's been put over it. It's pretty amazing.
Cars have never been safer. I wouldn't mess with the Formula.
Yeah, no doubt.
And if anything, Larry, in the next couple of years, you're going to find that crash structure, which right now is towards the center of the cars, it will actually be expanding out to the corners where it used to be. For the reason is the new crash tests are doing the partial minimal offset where they just basically, it's like you're hitting a telephone pole right in front of a tire. And right now they have no real protection there in most cars. And that's the new standards. The Insurance Institute standards anyway.
And to just preserve the beauty of your car, I've seen them before. It's a big piece of ugly rubber you can hang in the front and the back. It's like a parking buddy or something.
Yeah.
That's the only way you can really
like a skirt.
Keep the thing looking good.
Yeah, a lot of people downtown have those.
Well, Larry, we didn't completely answer your question, but basically cars crashworthy-wise are better than they've ever been before, and bumpers are actually designed to take a little bit more of a licking, but they don't necessarily look pretty after it's all done.
They don't look pretty at all after it's done.
Our Rant and Rave section is up next. Anyone have anything they want to pop off about this week?
Can we rant about how hot it is here?
They can't feel that.
Well, I think we've been sitting on this one for a while. At least Ben has about rolling coal, and I'll let Ben take over from here.
Rolling coal?
Yeah, I just got rolled on yesterday.
Oh boy! Let's explain what it is.
It basically, people in diesel vehicles, they reprogram their
Trucks
vehicle to just blow out locomotive style big black clouds of diesel smoke.
Is this light duty, or are you talking about big trucks?
I've seen big trucks mostly, but I've even seen a guy rolling coal in a Volkswagen pickup, an 80s pickup. He had the smokes. He had an exhaust pipe rerouted to the bed, and it stuck up like a Mack truck.
Yeah.
It's just the cool thing to do today for these young diesel people.
How do they make it do that?
I don't know if it's some kind of reprogrammer you can buy, or if it's a reprogramming trick. It's basically just doing something to the OBD to allow you to bypass your emissions controls or something. But anyway.
So it's not another case of Volkswagen trying to pull something over.
No, when you see it, you'll see it because it is a tremendous amount of black
I've seen
smoke.
it, but I really didn't know that's what it was called.
A lot of them do it to biker, like people who are, maybe
annoying.
biking or running. Well, not even annoying. People who are doing the rolling coal are annoying sometimes. I've seen
they're just doing it out of spite.
Maybe a guy will be biking in the actual bike lane and somebody will drive by him and just let loose. And just let it all there. Not to mention you're just destroying the environment.
Yeah, they roll coal on hybrid vehicles.
I got rolled on as a pedestrian yesterday. It was terrible.
While you were shoveling snow?
I was shopping for a used car. I was on the sidewalk of Main Street, Hampstead, and the guy was coming by. He had a snowplow on the front and just rolled it right on me as I had nowhere to go. It was snow on both sides, and I just had to take it.
If you have been guilty of this, we know who you are.
We just
sounds
don't,
like a terribly nasty habit.
We don't get it. We don't get it.
We don't get it.
We don't have to live in this world.
But what we do get is that we've gone on a little bit too long today for our Motor Week podcast number 136.
Sorry, guys.
I want to thank everybody around the table, writer, producer Brian Robinson, road test producer Ben Davis, and it wasn't you, Ben, assistant producer Greg Carlos, writer Patrick Lucas, our audio engineer Jim Bigwood, who always makes sure that we sound great, podcast creator Bob Mixter, who we need to get on the show sometime soon,
Hey, Bobby.
and our Patrick Lucas podcast producer, the guy with the bell and the written word. And thank you all for listening to our podcasts. We really do enjoy bringing them to you. Be sure to catch Motor Week on most of your public television stations, also on the Velocity cable channel. If you want to find us, go to motorweek.org. Till next time, I'm John Davis. For all of us at Motor Week, thanks for listening and watching and just being a part of Motor Week.
You have been listening to the podcast of MotorWeek, television's original automotive magazine. MotorWeek is made possible by TireRack.com and by RockAuto.com. For additional information on podcasts, videos, and showtimes, visit our website at motorweek.org. And watch MotorWeek, television's longest-running automotive magazine series, each week on your local PBS station.
Are we playing? Is this thing playing right now?
Are we supposed to hear that? We didn't hear anything,
that was supposed to be your intro
That's
right
supposed to
there.
be my intro?
Hello, I'm John Davis.
Jim!
Hello, I'm also John
Save
Davis.
this for the blooper reel.
Oh, Jim!